A man handed me his carry pistol across the counter and said he had stopped carrying it 4 months ago. He did not stop because he changed his mind about carrying. He stopped because he could not get it out of the holster with one clean motion anymore, and he had decided that a gun he could not draw was worse than no gun at all because it gave him confidence he had not earned. That is one of the most clear-eyed things anybody has ever said to me in this shop, and he is not alone. I have watched a genuine shift over the last few years in who is buying small revolvers and why, and it is not nostalgia, and it is not people who never learned semi-autos. It is men and women in their 60s and 70s who carried a semi-automatic for 30 years, know exactly how to run one, and have run into a physical wall that has nothing to do with skill. So today I want to talk about what actually changed because something did, and then give you the 5 specific configurations people are switching to and the one honest problem nobody mentions. And I will tell you up front, the thing most people are switching to is not what the thumbnails show you, and my last pick breaks a rule about carry guns that this entire industry is built on. Let me say one thing, then I will leave it be. Everything I have picked up behind that counter, how to buy right the first time, what is worth your money and what ain't, I put it all in one book over at buyproven.com. If you want it, it is there. That is all. Now let us get back to it. Real quick, so you know who is talking, I am Emmett Boone. I spent 11 years working warranty returns for a firearms distributor, which means my job was opening the box when somebody mailed a gun back and writing down why. These days I run projects at a custom rifle shop. I am salaried. I do not work commission. I get paid the same whether you buy something or walk out of here, and that is exactly why I can tell you the truth. Here is the filter for this one, and it is tighter than a home defense filter because carry is a harder problem. Can you carry it every single day without deciding not to? Can you draw it under stress with one hand? And can you hit with it? 3 questions, and the third one is where almost every carry gun sold to an older shooter falls apart. Life or dollars. Now first, what actually changed? Because people did not just wake up and rediscover revolvers. 3 things changed and they all landed in about the same handful of years. Optics got small enough. The red dot sights that used to be too big and too heavy for a small revolver got small enough, light enough, and cheap enough to put on one, and several manufacturers started cutting slides and top straps for them from the factory. For a shooter past 60, this is the single biggest change in this entire category, and I will come back to why. Holsters got better. Modern Kydex and hybrid holsters made from proper molds hold a revolver at a consistent angle with a consistent draw, which the old leather pocket holsters did not. A predictable draw is worth more to somebody with a shoulder problem than any feature on the gun, and the small cartridges came back. The .32 family got real factory support again, and that matters more than it sounds like, and I will explain why in a minute. Add those 3 together, and a small revolver in 2026 is a meaningfully better tool than the same gun was in 2010. That is what actually happened. Now, the honest problem, and I am putting it before the picks instead of at the end, because everything after this depends on it. Carry guns and shootable guns pull in opposite directions. A gun light enough to carry all day is light enough to recoil hard. A gun small enough to conceal has a grip too short for your whole hand, and a sight radius too short for precision, and a trigger that is usually worse. Every single feature that makes a gun carryable makes it harder to shoot, and hard to shoot is exactly the thing that disqualifies a gun for hands that are already fighting you. That is the actual tension in this category, and almost nobody states it. The industry sells small and light as if they were pure virtues. They are trade-offs, and for this audience they are expensive ones. So every pick that follows is an attempt to buy back shootability without losing carryability, and they do it in different ways. Number 1, and this is the biggest single shift I have seen, the 3-inch small frame revolver instead of the 2-inch. This sounds like nothing. It is not nothing. That extra inch of barrel adds 2 or 3 ounces out at the muzzle, which is exactly where you want weight, because muzzle weight is what keeps the gun from flipping. It lengthens your sight radius, which makes you more accurate for free. It adds 50 to 100 feet per second, which matters more in short barrels than anywhere else. And it costs you almost nothing in concealment, because the thing that prints through a shirt is the grip, not the barrel. Read that again, because it is the most useful sentence in this video. The grip is what prints, not the barrel. People buy 2-inch guns to conceal better and give up real performance to hide the part that was never showing. $500 to $750 depending on the maker, and both major American manufacturers make 3-inch versions of their small frames. Where it costs you is a couple ounces on your belt all day, and pocket carry gets harder, though the grip was already the limiting factor there. If you take one thing from this video, take this one. It is free performance. Number 2, steel instead of alloy, and I know this is the opposite of the usual advice. The ultralight revolvers, the 11 to 15 ounce ones, are the most recommended guns in this entire category, and I think that recommendation does real harm. Here is the physics. Felt recoil scales with gun weight. An 11-ounce revolver firing standard .38 special produces sharp, genuinely painful recoil, and a 22-ounce steel gun of the same size firing the same round produces roughly half of it. Now apply that to arthritic hands. Pain is not an inconvenience, it is a wall. People do not practice with guns that hurt them. They shoot a box, put it away, and carry a gun they have fired 20 times in 3 years. The 11 extra ounces of steel is the difference between a gun somebody shoots 200 rounds through a year and a gun somebody shoots 20 rounds through a year. And that difference is bigger than any other factor in this video. Same price range. Where it costs you is the belt. And the answer to that is a better belt, which is a $30 problem and not a gun problem. Number 3, and this is the one that surprises people, the .32 caliber revolvers. The .32 H and R Magnum and the .327 Federal Magnum are having a real moment, and the reasons are good ones. Because the bullet diameter is smaller, you fit 6 rounds in a cylinder that only holds 5.38. 6 instead of 5 is a 20% increase in a category where you have very few rounds to begin with. And a .32 H and R Magnum out of a small revolver kicks noticeably less than a .38 special while still being genuinely serious defensively. Less recoil, more rounds, same size gun. That is not a compromise. That is just better on both axes. And the latter is the real feature. A gun chambered in .327 Federal Magnum will fire .327 Federal, .32 H and R Magnum, and .32 S and W long. That is a range from a very powerful Magnum down to a target load so mild that almost anyone can shoot it comfortably. You practice with the mild stuff at low cost and low pain, and carry whatever you can shoot well, $600 to $850. Where it costs you is availability, and I have to be straight about it. .32 is not on every shelf, and it costs more than .38, and if the supply gets tight, it will get tight here first. If you live somewhere the shelves go thin, factor that in seriously. Excellent idea, real supply risk, know both. Number 4, the optic, and this is the one that changes people's lives. I said the optics change was the biggest thing that happened in this category, and here is why. Iron sights require your eye to focus at 3 different distances and pick one. Past about 60, the lens in your eye stops accommodating well enough to do that. That is not a technique problem, and no amount of practice fixes it. It is why your front sight went fuzzy, and it will not come back. A red dot puts one aiming point at optical infinity. You focus on the threat, which is what you were going to look at anyway, under stress, and the dot goes where the gun is pointing. Shooters who could not hold a group at 7 yards with irons often shoot well with a dot within one range session. I have watched it happen repeatedly, and it never stops being remarkable. Several manufacturers now ship small revolvers cut for optics from the factory, which did not exist a few years ago. Add $250 to $400 for a quality dot. Where it costs you is money, bulk on top of the gun, which affects holster choice, and a battery you have to think about. Buy one with a multi-year battery and a shake-awake, and check it twice a year when you change your smoke alarm batteries. If your eyes are the problem, nothing else on this list matters as much as this. Number 5, the Moonclip gun, and this solves the problem nobody talks about. Here's what gets left out of every revolver recommendation ever made. Firing a revolver is easy. Loading one is not. Pushing individual cartridges into small chambers is fine motor work with your fingertips, and it is one of the first things arthritis takes. Somebody hands a person a revolver and says it is simpler, and they are right about the firing and wrong about the loading, and nobody checks. Moon clips fix it completely. The whole cylinder loads as one piece and it ejects as one piece, and there is no individual round handling at all. Speed loaders are the next best thing, dropping all rounds at once with a twist. Speed strips let you load 2 at a time and are better than nothing. If loading is your limiting factor, buy a revolver designed around moon clips. That is a specific recommendation, and there are guns made for it. $20 to $40 for the clips or loaders. Cheapest fix in this entire video by a wide margin. Now here is the last pick, and it breaks a rule. The rule this industry runs on is carry the smallest gun you can. It is in every article, every video, every counter conversation. Smallest, lightest, most concealable, because a gun you leave at home is worthless. That is half true, and the half that is missing is the expensive half. Here is the last thing people are switching to, and it is not a gun at all. It is the carry method. A great many older shooters are moving off the belt entirely. Off body in a purpose-built bag, or on body in a shoulder rig, or in a good pocket holster in a coat that lives by the door. And the reason is not laziness. It is that a belt draw requires clearing a garment with one hand while the other hand does something else, at speed, with a shoulder that may not go there anymore. Change the carry method and the size constraint mostly disappears. Suddenly, the 3-inch steel gun with the optic on it is carryable, because it is not fighting your waistband and it is not asking your shoulder to do a motion it cannot do. Now, I have to be honest about the cost, because off-body carry has a real one, and anybody who tells you otherwise is not being straight with you. The gun is not on your person, which means it can be set down, forgotten, or separated from you. That is a genuine discipline requirement, and it is not a small one, and there are people who should not do it for exactly that reason. If there are grandchildren in the house, the bag has to be locked, or on you, always, no exceptions. But framed honestly, the choice is often not between belt carry and bag carry. It is between bag carry and the man in my opening who stopped carrying at all. I know some of you want me to say, carry the little pocket gun on your belt and be done. I get it. I really do. It is the standard advice, and for a 40-year-old, it is good advice. But strip the assumption off it, and the numbers only point one way. The smallest gun is the hardest to shoot, and the hardest gun to shoot is the wrong gun for hands that are already fighting you. So do not shrink the gun to fit the carry method. Change the carry method to fit the gun you can actually run. That is the switch. That is what is actually happening out here. And almost nobody is telling you about it because there is no product to sell in it, so put it together. A 3-inch small frame revolver in steel, in .38 special or .32, with a red dot if your eyes need it, moon clips or a speed loader for the reload, and a carry method your shoulder can live with. That configuration solves every problem this category has, and it costs $600 to $1,100 all in. Now the honest part, and it is the same as it always is. Do not buy any of this without holding it first. Go to a shop, work the action, load it with dummy rounds, pull the trigger, and check whether you can actually get your hand around the grip. Any shop that will not let you do that does not deserve your money. Rent one if there is a range near you that does it. An hour and $40 tells you more than every video on this subject, including this one. And practice the draw more than you practice the shot. That is backwards from how everybody trains, and it is correct for this audience. Because the draw is the part that fails first, and it is the part you can practice at home for free with an unloaded gun and the ammunition in another room. Training beats gear every single time. The most important tool you own sits between your ears and your trigger finger, and a carry gun you have not drawn from that holster in a year is not a carry gun, it is a weight. If I could only keep 3 off this whole list, it would be the 3-inch steel revolver because that extra inch is free performance, a red dot on top of it because eyes are the thing nobody plans for, and a set of moon clips because loading is the step everybody forgets. Not because they are the flashiest, because they are proven, they are right for the job, and they are the kind of thing you hand your kids someday. Buy proven, not hyped, and do not shrink the gun to fit the holster. Alright, your turn. What made you change what you carry, and what did you switch to? Drop it in the comments because that thread is going to help somebody more than this video will. And tell me if I got any of this dead wrong. I read every one. The comment scraps are half the fun. Next time we do the loads, the softest shooting defensive .38 there is, what a wad cutter actually does at 7 yards, and why the cheapest round on the shelf might be the right one for the person watching this. That one is going to start a bigger fight than this one. Shoot straight, buy proven, and I will see you at the counter.